This is Owen Richards doing some research for Ben-Hur. The date today is the 20th of April. So quite a while back, so this was the 7th of March 2020, I went to see a performance called The Talking Heads. It's a comedy, it's only got two women in it, and they play three different characters. I can't remember the exact names, but so they're basically three monologues. So one woman on stage doing a monologue is about, each one was about 25 minutes each, and they're quite funny. Not my type of humour, and I'll get into that in a bit. So when I did go to watch it, I went in my notebook and everything, and I was thinking, okay, so I can maybe see what gags there are, how they present maybe the comedic lines, stuff like that. But in the end, I found out I wasn't kind of taking notes from that stuff. I was taking notes from I guess, a visual side, and this is what I'm going to be talking about. So first of all, I'm going to talk about, it was a minimalistic set. It was all it was a background of each scene it was different, but it was just usually a curtain in the background, a table, a chair, and that was basically it. It did change a little bit around, but that was the main concept. It was very small set, and I think that was good for that type of show because you're more focusing on the characters than the set. It wasn't about the set, it was about the stories they're telling. So I kind of like that, but then I would like to say I'm going to use that in my performance, like as a minimalistic set. It is set minimalistic, but props wise, it's quite a few. But yeah, in my performance, it's not that much. So I quite like that, how to create a scene as well. They didn't use a lot of set, and you knew where it was. For example, you knew it was in the kitchen because of the type of table and chairs, and you know it was a kitchen. It wasn't much, but you knew where it was instantly, which is kind of what we need for ours. Like, we're supposed to be making this whole huge Roman stadium or a Roman house, and you need to make it as small as possible in this show. And so I'm taking that away, and I'm looking into how to do that. So that's good. So then we go on to the comedy. Like I said, the comedy for me, I felt like it was it was for adults. It was definitely for adults. There was a lot of jokes dated back where it was dated back to the war, like their time, like the war times, the rationings and stuff like that. And I didn't get most of the stuff. So when watching it, it actually made me realise I need to make sure my show's an all-round show because I know it's family, so I need to make sure the jokes are easy to get for all, but maybe some of the ruder jokes can only be got by adults. For example, Toy Story, they usually put lots of dirty humour into jokes, but they do it to a point where at a young age you wouldn't know, but an adult would. So that's good for me to take away, because now I know basically I need to have all-round humour instead of just to one group, which my group would actually be family. So then we go to then comedy for old people. I already said that, so I've got my notebook. I took these notes whilst watching the performance. So then this is when I talk about how I looked at more of a staging. There's quite a lot of errors, I felt like. So there's professionals doing it, but I felt there's a lot of errors. For example, one of the ladies was wearing a watch, and I found out a lot of the time the lighting was shining on the watch. It was kind of shining, it was blinding in a way. And from a staging point of view, that was not good because it kept blinding me. I don't know if it was for other people, but I had my mum with me sitting next to me, and she picked up on that as well. So that's made me realise I need to be careful how my lighting is. If there's going to be anything worn shiny or anything, how will that reflect on the lights? So that's good for me to look into more in my research. With my technical view. Then the set changes. Again, when I said about the three ladies that are on at different times, when one was presenting, you can hear, just not much, but you can hear there was people walking behind, moving stuff, all bits and pieces, and it did become a little bit distracting at some point. And my performance, there'll be a lot of set changes behind a curtain while something's going on in front of it. So it's made me realise we got to do some lessons and find ways to make it as silent as possible so the audience don't hear it and get distracted by it and break their image of the show, I guess. Going to the next point. There was some bits in there that was very racist, it was sad and it was offensive. There's some offensive topics. For example, the second lady did a monologue. It was about cheating on her husband with a Indian guy who works in a shop, and there's a lot of racist humour towards that. But it was funny, and it was funny on the subject of cheating, which in nowadays it wouldn't be funny. Like if that was actually happening, cheating, that wouldn't be funny. Racist, that's not funny. But they made it funny. They touched upon it to the point where you actually were laughing, but you didn't really realise it. So I need to look more into that, and I'm going to be looking more into, I guess like TV programs, like even in between us, that is very racist. But again, it's funny, so I'm going to look more into that because that's made me realise I need to make sure my comedy, it's funny, but it's not going to offend anyone. So we need to reach that balance, which I'm going to look more into. Then we've got the lighting change. Lighting change was very quick. You didn't really see it. Like, what I mean by that was, whilst one of the ladies was speaking, you kind of lightly notice it. A lighting was slowly either fading away or was appearing, and it wasn't that noticeable. It was very quick. The lights were really quick, and that to the point where you won't sit there in darkness waiting for the next bit to go on, which made me realise for my performance there's a lot of set changes where we need to be quick and snappy with the lights, because if it's about 10 seconds of the lights off, audience will get bored instantly, which won't work on my performance because it's very snappy humour. It's one laughter after another, and if we lose that, it could stop the laughter throughout the whole show. So I'm going to have to look into that, how to basically solve that, and I'm thinking about the way to go over that is when we go back to college is to work on that as fast as possible. We're going to have to work on set changes as much as possible. Okay, then it goes to costume changes, same thing. They were very quick. There was a lot of points where one of the people doing a monologue, they're talking about something, then it skipped to 2 days later. And the way they did that, they quickly just maybe put a coat on or put a scarf on or a hat on. And you kind of know that it wasn't present day, they moved towards the future a bit, you skipped a couple of days. And that's, again, we're going to have to use that in my show, which I am going to be using, which is a lot of costume changes. And again, like I said earlier, we don't want the audience to get bored, so lots of it will be maybe a wig on and off to show different characters, or hats, something very quick where you can just quickly take off, on or off. There was, even as I said, there's a lot of offensive humour, there wasn't hardly any swearing. I think I counted 2 swear words in there, and they were used correctly to the point where those swear words are actually funny. They use it in a sense where, in the sentence, it made it really funny. And when I looked back at my script, I realised there's only 2 swear words in it, and maybe I can play around and try that with my script. So I'm going to do that again. I'm going to film myself later on in the week, maybe rehearsing those lines, seeing how maybe to put emphasis on the swear word or something to show that this is the funny. But I'm going to experiment with that later on in the week. It was also relatable. A lot of the humour, obviously not for me, but the base audience was quite elderly people, older people, and to them it was relatable. And I knew that because they were laughing at jokes, like I said, about the rations in the war. And again, most of them would be kind of live around that point, maybe just after, and so on like that. So it made it relatable, so it made them laugh. Obviously, with my performance, it's about a Roman time, but it's a performance that goes wrong. So it is supposed to be in modern day, but the performance is in modern day, but the performance inside the performance is based basically in ancient Rome. So I could add some humour with relatable humour, but I don't know how yet. That's another thing I have to look through the script for. Oh yeah, the other thing I quite like, they break the fourth wall a couple of times. For example, this was actually out of character. Some of the audience, I think his phone rang or something, and the person on stage broke out of character and kind of made a little gag out of it, which I loved, because instead I feel like that would be quite good for my performance, where it does interact with the audience quite a lot. If something does go wrong, maybe like a phone call, we can kind of react to it. For example, maybe it's later on when my character is getting really annoyed at the cast. So when I'm really worked up and annoyed, I hear a phone call. If this is just hypothetical, if it does happen, I can kind of just like, I don't know, like I'll have to improvise it or something, like maybe just go shut up or something. But it's good to show that you include the audience, because if you include the audience, they'll be more wanting to watch because they don't know what they're going to be involved in next, what lines they're going to be involved in, which I think helps with a performance like mine, where it's, again, comedy after comedy after comedy. There was very little action in the performance as well, like very little. There wasn't much where they were, I don't know, moving about. It wasn't a lot of movement. It was mainly just sitting or walking to one stage of the side of the stage to the other, and it worked. It wasn't boring. Where it was kind of boring for me. But when I asked my parents who watched it, I have some older friends who watched it. They didn't find that boring, but for me it did, because again, it wasn't my type of humour. But so going from the lower action with my performance, it's all action. So it's quite nice to see what it would be like the reverse of a performance that doesn't have a lot of action. So then you got my performance where it is just action the whole way through, as in like lots of movement, and it's good. Like, it is easy to watch the person. I feel like that's something I need to look into and be careful with, which is maybe if we move about too much, it would be quite hard for the audience to kind of like see what's the main character. So like there'd be a character over there moving, there might be a character over there moving. They don't know which one to focus on. So we have to be careful with staging, making sure that if someone's maybe doing something that's really relevant to the script, they need to be doing the movement whilst everyone else is kind of doing little movements, so they know which one to focus on. Then maybe one of the others with the little movements gets bigger, and that person over there with the big movements slows down a bit. So you can kind of show which one's the one to watch. So that is all my notes from the show. But it was enjoyable to watch. The director of it was Brigid Larmour. I think I pronounced that right. The person who wrote it, though, was Alan Bennett. I'll show you here, just in case I said that wrong, so you know. Top right here. So yeah, I enjoyed the show, and I did take a lot of things from it. A lot of it was staging, I think. A lot of it was staging I took away from it. It was surprising. I was going in there with the mindset, okay, I'm going to take away maybe some gags, delivery of comedy, stuff like that. But in the end, I took away a lot more than I thought. So this is excellent for me to find out, and I wish I would have gone and see more theatre plays, especially now, so I can kind of get more notes on different plays, different comedies, but I can't, obviously, because isolation. So what I'm thinking of doing is watching them online. I'm pretty sure I can find some on YouTube. Obviously the experience wouldn't be the same, but I feel like maybe even taking one thing away might help me. So that has made me learn I need to watch more theatre productions, because I have watched quite a few in the past, but I feel like now I'm directing my own comedy, I need to kind of steal ideas from others again, like even like the simple things with the watch. So I need to see what errors maybe other theatres make, so I can try and counter it in my one. So I found this a very helpful experience, and it's made it so I can do a lot more research. Again, with the lights, I can do more research into lighting, to the props, to how to how to deliver comedy with the offensive humour. So I am very happy I went and saw this show, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you.